Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I'm Taquin. So 343 actually just dropped a new blog post talking about Halo Infinite called Inside Infinite. This is the second one that they have done, and in it there's a bunch of info, tidbits, new pictures of weapons, lots of interesting stuff like that, as well as a confirmation that we're going to be getting these monthly, it seems. So I'm just going to read through this blog post, give my thoughts on all the new stuff in here, and yeah, just kind of take you guys through it. So before I start, if you guys are new, definitely hit the subscribe button because we're going to be covering all of these monthly Infinite updates as they happen, as well as a ton of Infinite content going into the future. So hit subscribe if you're new, and let's get started. We've got Sketch saying, "Hey everyone, Sketch here, wishing you a belated Happy New Year and welcoming you to the first Inside Infinite of 2021. Inside Infinite is a recurring series that will hit Halo Waypoint on approximately the last Thursday of every month. Our goal with these blogs is to provide insights into the game we are making from the people who are making it. These updates are intended to be fairly high level and will lay a foundation that will continue to build over the months leading up to launch. Rather than make this strictly a one-way endeavor, following each update we'll ask for community questions on social using hashtag Ask343. And look for opportunities to go deeper with the team and address some of your most pressing inquiries in the following regular community update blog. I'll kick it over to Unishek and the Sandbox team to talk more about their vision and approach to Halo Infinite." Sandbox evolved. Thanks, Sketch! With that said, we've got a lot to talk about today, so let's dive straight into things with the Sandbox team. Hey all, Happy New Year, and thank you for setting aside some time to talk about Halo Infinite's Sandbox with us. Some players may already be familiar with Quinn, but let's kick this off with a quick round of introductions. What does your role at 343 entail, and what's your experience with Halo as a fan or employee? We've got our boy Quinn Del Hoyo back in the house. Quinn, sure thing. My name is Quinn Del Hoyo, and I have had the privilege to work in multiple roles here at 343 Industries since I joined the studio in 2013. Some of those include multiplayer designer on Halo 5 Guardians, lead weapon designer early in development for Halo Infinite, and now as the lead sandbox designer. My job is to establish, own, and drive the creative vision of all sandbox features within the game. I meet regularly with leaders across the studio to ensure the sandbox is meeting the needs of their teams and experiences. I work with the talented sandbox designers on our team to review and guide their features from concept all the way to completion. I do so using the sandbox principles found in the Halo Combat Doctrine. We'll get more into that below. So they continue on to introduce Tim Temmerman, the senior designer in charge of equipment on the sandbox team, David Price, who is the lead weapons designer at 343 currently, Brian Berryhill, who is the lead vehicle designer, Ilan Gleiber, a sandbox designer, and Kevin Stocker, senior sandbox designer. Alright, so we got all these sandbox designers, and they start talking about Halo Infinite's sandbox, the vehicles, equipment, weapons, and objects that the player will interact with. In their words, essentially all the toys that the player gets to play with. So we get a pretty cool render of the Halo Infinite Grapple Shot here, getting to see it up close and personal, with a little description on like the mechanism that works when you fire it. Both dials rotate when shot, and rotates the other direction when you pull in. I know, really revolutionary engineering here. So they continue and share their vision on the Sandbox team along with their official Sandbox team crest, which is actually extremely badass. They say, "We create weapons, vehicles, player mechanics, and systems that are intuitive and reward player mastery. We respect Halo's legacy by partnering with our players with the same honesty and integrity we use to craft our gameplay." And then you've got this awesome Sandwolves Sandbox crest here, which is actually so cool. They continue on to describe their combat doctrine. Quinn Del Hoyo says, "The Halo Combat Doctrine is a document that establishes core Halo gameplay philosophy. It outlines our principles of what must be true when playing Halo Sandbox, and specifically the moment-to-moment combat. The primary purpose of these principles is to shape design discussions regarding foundational Halo combat in both the campaign and multiplayer experiences. When we began development on Halo Infinite, one of our major goals was to remove redundancy in the sandbox. Weapons were the first area we wanted to have strong roles that players gravitate to because of a certain playstyle. So, we started from a blank canvas and called out all of the high-level roles and playstyles that we wanted players to experience. From there, we started to get into the details of which specific weapons were going to fill those roles. This is also where damage types as a much more feature-rich system came into play. We felt that it was important to feature multiple damage types in the game so that we have more attributes to play with when designing vehicles and weapons." Okay, that's actually really cool. I'm really happy to hear that they actually have damage types in the game, because that's going to make a lot of PvE engagements more interesting. I'm very curious to see how they're going to implement that some more. As the game launches and we continue to develop new weapons, there will always be some sort of crossover roles and playstyles, but we'll be much more involved with keeping the sandbox fresh, which means that weapons on day one will assuredly be different after multiple updates and patches. That's also good to hear. I'm glad that they're going to be updating the game frequently. I just really hope they continue to over time. They did a good job of that with Halo 5, but I'm hoping, fingers crossed, Infinite is just supported for a very long time. They've already confirmed it. We've got a sick picture by Lorraine McLeese, as featured in the Halo graphic novel, The Halo Sandbox. Would you look at that? The next principle, Lone Wolf, player goal. The player feels that they can stand alone and be effective without teammates or AI companions. To abide by the Lone Wolf principle means that we must provide the player with the necessary items and features to empower them to be effective on their own. The basic traits, tools, and weapons must allow the player to be effective from the moment they spawn without the need to scavenge for good weapons. Listen, that makes sense, but I don't want the assault rifle to fucking melt you like it currently does in, like, say, Halo 4. Halo 5, it's a little more reasonable, but I feel like it's still, like, slightly too powerful. I don't know. In my opinion, you should start with that and then switch out your weapon, like for a DMR or a BR or whatever. Anyway, connected actions. Player goal. Player actions are quick, frictionless, and responsive. Halo is best when the controls feel frictionless, natural, and responsive, to the point that the controller or mouse and keyboard fades away and the player is just engaged in combat. It's because of this principle and the fact that Halo Infinite will be on PC that led us to rebuild the control scheme system to allow players to fully rebind and remap their controls regardless of platform. Let's go! That is huge, dude. I'm so excited that we can, like, completely reconfigure everything. That's huge. You can kind of do it with, like, the Xbox Accessories app, but it kind of just makes life annoying sometimes because you can't just seamlessly do it within the game. You have to exit the game, go to the settings, or the Accessories app. That's something I have to do frequently because I play on a very weird control scheme. One topic that the combat doctrine covers, which could be fun to dive into, is the role of equipment in combat. Hell yes. Equipment is, like, the one thing I'm extremely excited for with Halo Infinite. It's probably the thing I'm most excited for because the sheer possibilities of equipment as a concept in Halo is amazing. You could literally create whatever you want as equipment, in my opinion. You can make it as OP as you wanted and just, you know, not put it on a map, but have it available in custom games or, you know, like something like that. That excites me a lot. In multiplayer, equipment is earned via combat and or scavenging the play place, which brings a high level of fairness and competition to the experience. At a high level, the equipment items themselves will perform very similarly across campaign and multiplayer experiences. For example, the drop wall's role as a defensive energy shield will be the same across experiences. However, we are tailoring each equipment, all sandbox features for that matter, to the experience that they are being used. So, expect to see some minor differences between multiplayer and campaign when it comes to acquiring equipment, frequency in which they can be used, etc. Okay, that's very interesting that they're actually tailoring equipment for multiplayer and campaign separately. That's a valuable design principle I feel like Bungie kind of used for Destiny. I think a lot of people will be really happy to see equipment return from Halo 3, and I think just expanding on that system more and more is going to be excellent. I can't wait to see what they do. And here we get a look at what I assume is the drop wall. It looks like the little module that actually deploys the shield, which is pretty cool. I low-key thought this was like a sentinel at first. I don't know why. It's like... Anyway, we got that as well. Moving on to vehicles. I'm interested to hear about this. Vehicles are another core element of the Halo sandbox, and in the campaign demo, we got to see the Master Chief jump in a Warthog and hit some sweet drifts. Hell yeah. Dude, I'm going to be drifting so hard in Halo Infinite. You guys have no idea. Vehicles, just like weapons, have an assortment of roles that we want to be represented. I'll let Brian speak to those as he's the vehicle lord. Alright, so the vehicle lord takes over and says, "Sweet drifts and sick jumps. That's the Warthog." Hell yeah. Early on, I made the promise to these teams that if they made awesome looking environments, we'd make the vehicles able to traverse them. We have dev builds of all the older Halos going back to CE, and this terrain is order of magnitudes more difficult. While this caused a significant retuning of the core vehicles that have been in every Halo, when you see the gorgeous environments of Halo Infinite, I think it's worth it. That's an interesting statement. I wonder how much they've changed the vehicles and in what way. Secondly, vehicles organically form player parties. Vehicles are the only inherently cooperative part of the sandbox, so they carry the responsibility of forming these connections. That's very true, and I'm glad they recognize the teamwork aspect of vehicles because, man, I miss the Falcon so much. The Falcon was basically just like the Warthog on crack in terms of just the cooperative aspect of it, because you can have someone who has to fly and focus only on flying, just like the driver, and you got two gunners instead of one. and you had the gap in the center of the Falcon, so if someone shot a rocket at you, you could have one of those insane moments where the rocket doesn't actually hit you, but flies through the passenger area. Anyway, I don't know what I'm on about. Let's keep reading. The Sandbox team has worked hard to get a healthy interplay between all our parts, and I think we're in a good spot right now, but we're of course continuing to monitor feedback during playtests and eventually public flighting. Oh my god, I cannot wait for public flighting, you guys. I'm hoping that when public flighting becomes a thing, we can actually post content on it. I am so excited for that. Make sure you're subscribed because I'm going to be making so many videos on that. Another gameplay element mentioned in the team's combat doctrine was damage types. As I said above, Halo Infinite had damage types to some degree from the very beginning. Early on, we were planning on sandbox areas to improve. Damage types was one of the feature sets that the weapons team decided to really go after. In essence, the ambition for damage types is to better integrate weapon types, ammo types, fashion tech, etc. into the gameplay loops in a way that is easily understood by the player. In addition to further clarity and purpose to the legacy damage types, i.e. kinetic and plasma, the team has also been pursuing new surprises for players that we're eager to talk about in the months ahead. I'll let Dave chime in as he's leading the charge on all weapon design for Halo Infinite. Halo already had a loose rule set with plasma weapons. We wanted to further define this rule set. This approach allows us to make multiple weapons that feel unique with a damage type. We want weapons to feel diverse, even if they share the same damage type. Hell yeah. And we get an absolutely gorgeous picture of a Needler. Oh my god. The Halo Infinite Needler is looking so nice, you guys. It looks so definitive and just perfect. It looks like the Halo Reach Needler. And if you guys know anything about me, I absolutely adore the Halo Reach weapon designs. I think they're like pretty much the pinnacle of what Halo weapons look like and should look like in a lot of ways. So I'm really happy that at least for a lot of the weapons, it seems like 343 is taking a lot of inspiration from the designs from Halo Reach. And this Needler right here, this Halo Infinite Needler, looks like a Halo Reach Needler to me. Looks incredible. I'm so happy about that. Changing gears a little now, after the campaign demo last year, we saw plenty of questions emerge about the weapons. Would you or someone on the team be able to speak to the Bulldog's role in the Halo Infinite sandbox? I'm curious about this because I thought it was kind of silly that they're replacing the regular Halo shotgun with the Bulldog. I'm not too upset about it. I think the Bulldog's cool. I just feel like you should keep the old iconic Halo weapons in the game as well. But I understand what they're doing, so let's see what they have to say. The Bulldog is an exciting new shotgun weapon that is fast firing and fast loading. We found that there are a lot of players that want to be that in-your-face CQC frontliner, but have never had a more readily available, less powerful but still effective shotgun that allowed them to play that role frequently across the multiplayer experience. Okay, I'm kind of getting that they want it to be a sort of mauler type weapon, one you can keep in your pocket and just like be super aggressive in CQC situations with. Okay, so they continue on. What Quinn said was spot on. We wanted to have a shotgun that was not a power weapon. Interesting, okay. The Bulldog is a versatile weapon that provides the player the role of a shotgun in up-close playstyle more frequently in multiplayer than in previous Halo titles, as it is lower on the lethality scale of weapons and thus is more prevalent. And we got a picture of the Bulldog shotgun looking like the Bulldog shotgun. It looks pretty cool, but I don't know, kind of plain looking. The meta in any multiplayer game is constantly moving. We want to be able to react along with the evolution of the game and its playstyles. You bet. And already we've spent a ton of time fine-tuning our equipment. Equipment can be used quite differently across the various skill levels, so it's important for us to make sure our changes retain the fun and competitive fairness of the equipment at all levels. And we get another look at that new weapon that we saw during the gameplay reveal, the name of which is escaping me right now. Looks great though. Anyway, speaking of tuning, the Sandbox team also works to tune the controls and inputs for the game, which now includes PC. Mouse and keyboard controls, right? Since this is the first time we're also building simultaneous for PC, how is the team making sure the controls for weapons, vehicles, and equipment all feel great on PC? PC as a platform is not going to be a port after we launch the game. We are playing on PC every day. So now, not only does our game need to feel great and like Halo on a controller, like it has natively for the past 20 some years, the game and all of its systems need to take into account native mouse and keyboard functionality. As we look ahead to our launch this fall, what is the Sandbox team currently focused on? Can you speak briefly about the team's remaining work and priorities over the coming weeks and months? Then they say, Sandbox is super busy. All of our launch content is in-game and being played daily, but it takes a strong effort to get something from 90% to a full 100% ship quality. So, we are pushing hard to squash bugs and tune our toys so that they are in a good spot as we get closer and closer to launch. And public flighting before that. Oh, they keep teasing public flighting. I want it! Bro, just tell me assassinations are in the game. That's all I want to know. One of these Inside Infinite updates has got to confirm that for me, or the next trailer. I'm foaming at the mouth. Additionally, we are taking time to evaluate the visuals of certain Sandbox items with the goal of assuring everything is landing the way the art directors envision. As a result, some sandbox items we've previously shown might be getting a facelift here and there by the time you see them again. And then we get a picture of what is presumably the Halo Infinite Hydra, which is super cool. I actually really like how this looks. You've got the familiar kind of rotating mini missile barrel thing, and then you've got these cool not like notches in the weapon. It's got a much more unified look. I'm still deciding if I like this design direction with the new weapons of them being just kind of chunkier. I don't know, we'll have to see. This looks cool from the side though. I'm looking forward to seeing more. We're getting close to the end right now. All right, I've only got 2 more questions before I let you get back into it. What's your favorite weapon, vehicle, or equipment in Halo Infinite? If we haven't shown it yet, can you give us any hints as to what it may be and why it's your favorite? And then the sandbox team basically just lists off their favorite weapons. Quinn says, one of my favorite sandbox items is a vehicle that we haven't shown yet. This vehicle isn't totally brand new, but it has received a fresh coat of paint while awaiting its triumphant return to Halo. What is it? I don't know. What do you guys think this vehicle is going to be? My guess is definitely the Brute Chopper. I'm going to put that in as my guess for what this vehicle is. Him saying it's got a fresh coat of paint, you know, the chopper is now going to be a banished chopper. So, you know, fresh coat of paint, it's got to be painted red, you know, dude. This is what I'm saying. My guess is the chopper. Let me know in the comments what you guys think it's going to be. Next up, they say, we got some really new, exciting equipment that we haven't shown yet, but the Grapple Shot is probably my favorite of the bunch that we have shown. Not only does it just feel fun to use, but there's additional functionality that hasn't been revealed yet that adds some more offense-focused gameplay that I'm super excited to show off. Maybe we can grapple to someone and assassinate them? Okay, moving on. The Grapple Shot is definitely a favorite of mine, but I'm equally excited about an equipment item we haven't shown yet. It's highly physics-based, has tons of interactions across our sandbox, and will leave you laughing or yelling, "Did you see that?" Proper timing is everything with this equipment, and if you position yourself correctly, you could very well send your enemies flying. Oh my god! Maybe it's like a launch pad that you can throw down and it like flips up, kind of like the ones in Halo 5 Forge. I don't know. I'm excited to see what this is. Next they say, I mean, my favorite vehicle has to be the Warthog, right? There's no other choice. It's the GOAT. Although we are working on a new vehicle that is looking pretty hot. This new vehicle will sit nicely between the Warthog and the Scorpion in terms of power level, so it should ignite some new discussions on what vehicle to take to a mission. Huh, that's very interesting. God, guys, I'm so excited for this game. So excited. Now, moving on to our last question. Whose idea was it to allow players to pick up and throw fusion coils? And Quinn says, fusion coil tossing is the brainchild of one of our senior sandbox designers, Kevin Stocker. He's the primary design owner for all of our interactive sandbox objects and systems like grav lifts, man cannons, etc. There are a few more surprises with fusion coils too. Remember how we wanted to better integrate the damage type system into the entire sandbox? Fusion coils will be no exception. Oh. Also, wait until we show what we've done to another classic sandbox item that has been in Halo since the beginning but hasn't gotten much love until now. This feature really just came up when I was messing around in one of our test levels. I just thought it would be cool to be able to throw them. So I put it in and people seemed to like it. Since they were received well in playtests, we gave them more attention. Like adding the doomed state so they can propel themselves around when damaged. Oh boy. Now we get a beautiful render of the Halo Infinite Assault Rifle, looking like a cleaned up and facelifted Halo Reach Assault Rifle. It's gorgeous. I love it. That concludes our interview with the Sandbox team here at 343. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask the Sandbox team, be sure to ask us online using hashtag Ask343, and we'll bring some answers to February's community update. And now, a few parting words from Halo Infinite's head of creative, Joseph Staten. Dances with Hunters. Ah yes, the combat dance, the beating heart of every Halo game. For grizzled Spartan veterans, this should be a familiar scene. Imagine a Forerunner interior, a timeless metallic vault with soaring ceilings. It's quiet, empty. Except for a pair of hunters, shields up, shoulder spikes twitching, blocking your path forward. What to do? That's easy, I said to myself for the first time I fought hunters in Halo Infinite. Bait them, get them to charge, then step aside, pivot, direct as much firepower into their exposed, wormy backsides as you can before they turn and turtle. But when I tried these classic dance steps, the hunters had something else in mind. As expected, one of the hunters charged, exposing its weak spot. By the time I had pivoted to face it, however, it had already pivoted to face me. That's odd, I thought. Must be a bug. I tried the dance steps again. Same result, except this time the second hunter filled my face with fuel rod projectiles, sending me scrambling for cover. Crouched behind a Forerunner pillar, shields fried and health deep in the red, I had a quick think. What's different? Hunters turn faster. Okay, assume this isn't a bug. What's the game trying to tell me, and what new dance moves have I got? As another volley of enemy fire rattled my virtual head inside my virtual helmet, I remembered, I have equipment! Specifically in the case of more reactive hunters, I have a Grapple Shot, which means I'm faster and more mobile too. I don't want to spoil your own fun of experimentation with a detailed description of what happened next, but suffice it to say, the Grapple Shot didn't cheese my encounter with the hunters, it deepened it. simultaneously made me feel more powerful and the hunters more intelligent. We all knew the rules had changed, but the hunters weren't going to let me dance on their graves without a fight. This is just one example from a single encounter, but for me, it encapsulates what's so exciting about the totality of the work that Quinn, Tim, David, Brian, Elaine, Kevin, and the entire Sandbox team have done to deepen and expand the Halo Combat Toolkit. It's great to feel their respect for the legacy. It's even better to experience how they've improved on it. And with that, you guys, that concludes the second Inside Infinite post for January 2021. That was a lot of information, a lot of talking. If you made it through this video all the way to the end, thank you for watching. That was a lot of fun to read. I hope you guys enjoyed getting a look inside Infinite. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and click the bell if you really like the videos and you want to be notified when I upload more of them. So, with that being said, thank you everybody so much for watching. As always, I'll have this article linked in the description box below, and I'll see you guys next time. See you!